Welcome to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 28th of October. I'm going to share some standout details to look out for to begin with, then on screen the event chart right at the start of the week. That always contains some very important pointers. Then as events unfold as the week goes on, I'll go through those, then give you a flavour of what to expect for each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces from the perspective of the ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please help it thrive and do so now, but also click or tap on the bell notification symbol. You can order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast now. If you share your data with me, I'll also produce for you your life roadmap report. The combination of this information is great value. There's 30% off and will help you to understand more intimately the patterns that have played out in your life so far and how you can seize opportunities in the months ahead. You can also get the rest of this year free. If you'd like to talk to me one-to-one, I am a consultant astrologer. Please check out my testimonials below and see what other people have found working directly with me. This is a week when we have that potent Scorpio new moon, and it occurs on Friday. The new moon in itself forges an in conjunction, a quincunx with the North Node. The North Node has been pushing us since the middle of July 23 to embrace our individuality. How's that going to play out when this new moon is all about where we're most invested in terms of our connections, be it romantic, be it business-wise, be it just in a spiritual dimension, because that North Node is about what we need to do for ourselves. So that's interesting. This is a week that makes me think of a very, very busy day in a huge city. There's just so much competing energy going on. Not least the two rulers of the sign of Scorpio are in an opposition all through this week, which reaches a climax on Sunday. And that's a very intense energy between Mars and Pluto, and can see a polarization in all sorts of situations in the world at large, but also it can lead to some very highly charged scenes in our own personal situation. Monday also sees a clash between Venus and Saturn. If a relationship isn't working out, we'd probably find out then, when something that hasn't previously been revealed can come crashing into the open in a very potent way. But although Mars is in that very conflicting opposition with Pluto, it's actually forging a really helpful dynamic link with Uranus. That actually reached its peak last week, but it's still vibrant this week. And also Mercury links brilliantly with both Neptune and also with Uranus too. And by the end of the week, we're going to see Mercury join up with Venus in the sign of Sagittarius. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the week. As ever, we need to be mindful of the two luminaries. The Sun is at 5 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, so it's in the first decan, sub-ruled by Mars. So that means that that energy of the Sun is very much on the front foot. It wants to assert its desire as we go into this new week. The moon, however, is in the precise and functional sign of Virgo. The moon in Virgo encourages us to get things ordered and working, but look at the position of Saturn right at the start of this week. However much we might want to get those more virtuous tasks out the way, something can block us. And because there is the clash between Venus and Saturn on the first day, perhaps it's a relationship issue which could affect us emotionally, and it may not be in a purely personal context. It could be about a work relationship with a colleague, but something that's rankled for some while. I feel Venus right in the sign of Sagittarius is a truth seeker essentially, and if Saturn has been holding something in for a long while, it could come out into the open as this week begins. Now, from On Monday and Tuesday, we're also going to see a quincunx between Jupiter and Mercury. That's an interesting one. Both of these planets can be to do with commerce, business, contracts, and that might be a little bit difficult to get working quite as we want, particularly with Mercury in a very penetrating sign. Jupiter in Gemini can be a bit frivolous, and of course it's in retrograde. So if we are discussing something, it is important to be sincere and also say what we mean and mean what we say. But if there is something that we want to shift around our home situation, Mars has certainly given us a lot of appetite to push on and a lot of willpower. But there may be someone who sees things very differently to us, and that's that opposition with Pluto that we need to be mindful of. And I mentioned in the introduction about Venus's square with Saturn. That is precise on Monday, but it does run on through to the middle of this week. So some kind of relationship factor may need to be worked through. But as the week draws to a close, Venus ironically breaks free of the energy of Saturn and goes into potentially quite glorious opposition with Jupiter. Now that's an aspect that can help us to see the best in people. You can also see us be perhaps a little bit too optimistic about how things can turn out. So it is going to be important to stay a little bit grounded. But that brings us to that potent, incredibly potent new moon. New moons are an opportunity to set our intentions, to visualize what we want from the area that's being influenced. In terms of us all collectively, a new moon in Scorpio can be about where we're close, intimate, invested, devoted, or it can be where we want to break free of relationships that we have had that kind of dynamic that aren't working for us anymore. So the sign of Scorpio can very much be about transformations. But if there is something coming to the end in your situation, the highly charged opposition between the two rulers of that sign suggests there could be a lot of politics about. But then, with Mercury returning to Sagittarius, and it's had a lot of time in Sagittarius and a lot of retrogrades, which it's going to have again this year, over the last couple of years, if there has been something that's just been too dark, heavy, difficult, Mercury, despite being detrimented in Sagittarius, gives us a chance to try to escape and get some freedom and independence and some kind of detachment from that issue that's just seems so bogged down and very tricky indeed. So the potential for liberation at the end of this week is very strong around a romantic relationship that hasn't been working, but also because Scorpio can be about long-term finances. Maybe if something hasn't been working there as well, we might reappraise things, find out more information, and the exuberance of Venus opposite Jupiter can certainly give us the confidence to try to seek some fresh air if things have just seemed very stale, very limiting, very oppressive. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 signs, from Aries through to Pisces. But just to say, if you've yet to watch your year 2025 deep dive video for each of the 12 zodiac signs, please see the link beneath this video and check out what I'm going to say about next year. So Aries, if any kind of relationship has been going through some challenges, been bumping along the bottom, I feel your frustration with the injustice of the situation can really reach a climax this week. And it's almost as if a welter of energy just has to come out, particularly by the end of the week. But in some ways, this gives you an opportunity to release yourself from something that's been holding you back. But just consider this. It could be a relationship from your very distant past, perhaps even with your parents, people that you did know many years ago, or one person in particular is still impacting on your psychology in some kind of subtle but potent way. You have a chance to free yourself from that this week and transform your situation, and you can use that part of you that can find a spark from when you find things are unfair, that can help you to gain traction and move forwards. Also, The opposition between Venus and Jupiter could bring someone new into your world in a very exciting and dynamic way, just when you're least expecting it. And it could be someone who just is great fun to be with, or actually really interestingly very generous and laid back. And they seem to be such a counterpoint to the intense energy that you may be experiencing. Or is it you who's chilled out at the moment and it seems everyone else is getting worked up? Certainly by the end of this week, and Mercury moves into your fellow fire sign of Sagittarius, I feel that you will be in the mood for a complete change of scene and doing something that just gives you some kind of separation from all the drama and all the politics. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And a much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And a much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. Taurus, there is so much electric energy influencing your particular chart this week. It really is so exciting. But with Venus, your ruler, in an opposition with Jupiter by the end of the week, if there's something that takes your fancy, or will it be someone, you may find it very hard to resist. And with the new moon in your sector of relationships, the next 4 weeks gives you a wonderful opportunity to reset your posture in how you connect with all sorts of people. But because Mars in your third house is in that opposition with Pluto in the ninth house, if you do find yourself disagreeing about something, it's going to be quite difficult to resist asserting how you feel. But will it be worth it if it does influence the outcome of the long-term harmony of one particular relationship you're involved in? And with Mercury and also Mars linking back brilliantly to Neptune in the part of your horoscope that's very much to do with your friendships and alliances, I think it is a week when it may be important to agree to disagree. But if you do meet someone new, it could be over a lovely meal that you really find yourselves bonding in quite the way. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And a much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Gemini, your word skills and ability to pivot into all sorts of different people often hold you in great stead. But right at the start of this week, however much you turn on the charm, someone you encounter may be resolutely unimpressed. But there's also another thread in this week which could see you feeling very dissatisfied around the financial situation, particularly if you feel that someone's not being essentially fair, and you're the person who's tended to be very hardworking and committed and poured your energy into being very supportive to others, which builds us all up to that new moon. Thinking about your welfare, the structure of your life, and whether it works quite as efficiently and cleanly and productively as you would really like, vis-a-vis the benefits that you gain from any kind of situation can really be very activating for you. But if you do get an opportunity to break out and connect to someone, go out with a friend for a meal and do something that's a little different and away from some of those constraints, responsibilities and obligations, as Mercury moves into your opposite sign and Venus goes opposite Jupiter, you could end up actually having some kind of uplift moment as this week draws to a close, even if there's another part of the narrative which is encouraging you to be super virtuous on the back of that new moon. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And a much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Cancer, the energy from Mars in your sign back to Uranus, your sector of friendship, long-term plans, is very dynamic and also can see you being much more assertive. Good for you if so, even making some sudden decisions. But also, Mars is forging quite the link with Neptune this week. And Neptune's in the part of your situation to do with freedom and being much more attached to your spiritual purpose in life. But if there are some politics that you've been dealing with, Mars opposite Pluto is really quite a shuddering aspect that you do need to work through. And because Jupiter is in your 12th house, that's giving you an even greater desire, I feel, to understand the true meaning of what this period of your situation is about. So the fact that the new moon is in your sector of enjoyment, fun, glorious engagement with others in a more pleasurable way, it may mean that you can use that as a conduit to deal with a need to feel heard, to feel recognized, to feel really supported. And then as Mercury makes its way into the sign of Sagittarius, as the week draws to a close, if there are practicalities that you need to deal with, those smaller details, that's when you can grapple with them. But I feel that there is something developing here that's very much about you asserting a more unique, individualistic version of yourself, when in the past you've been very much rooted into being supportive, consistent, a great leader. Now you could find yourself this week doing something really quite radical. And if so, good for you. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And a much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Leo, I think the thing to really bear in mind this week is the emotional dimension of your situation is emphasized by not just the sun and the new moon, but also the journey of Mercury. Now, Mercury actually forges a terrific link with Neptune. Neptune is a very mysterious influence. It's in the 8th house, a very enchanting area when it comes to our connections to others, but sometimes a baffling one when it comes to long-term finances. But I just feel that the energy of Mars in your 12th house is something you do need to be aware of, because that sensitive, emotional water energy that's very much to the fore this week is also competing in a way with Mars's opposition to Pluto, and that's very, very strong. And it could be that something that has not really been coming to the surface that needs to come out, and it may be something that's a bit out of kilter in your situation, does need looking at. And by the end of this week, as Mercury makes its way to join up with Venus in your sister fire sign of Sagittarius, your desire for some pleasure and release from the intensity of what this week is about is going to be strong, but be guided by your sixth sense, be guided by your instincts, whether it's around work, around a relationship, a spending decision, a partnership. Just be guided by your sixth sense, because that's really what this lunation is about. It's about needing to be in touch with what gives you a sense of security. But unfortunately, there may be someone who could reveal their hand who's not quite as much as in your corner as you would like. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Virgo, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast. So for you, on Monday, the clash between Venus and Saturn suggests that someone close to you may have a different view, and it could be around a family plan, it may be about the Christmas arrangements, but there can be some tensions through to the middle of the week. However, if you're focusing on what really excites you, your ruler Mercury is linked to Uranus, but also Neptune this week, can really give you an opportunity to express yourself. And the new moon in your sector of everyday communications can also bring some excitement to the piece as well. It's just that the third house energy is quite restless. The position of the North Node, which feeds into the new moon, is in a part of your scope to do with where you're most invested, particularly around a close relationship or even a financial matter. So if you're generating some fresh and imaginative approaches and someone close to you would rather keep the status quo, that could be a little bit of a challenge. But as Mercury, your ruler, moves at the end of this week into the part of your situation to do with home, family, and your inner emotions, you will, over the following 3 weeks, have an opportunity to think a little bit deeper about what you truly want at the core of your world. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Libra, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast continues to see Mars in a very powerful part of your chart. Whether it's around your finances, whether it's around your professional situation, you're in the mood to have your voice heard. And perhaps also to say no. You can be very agreeable. The clash between Venus, your ruler, and Saturn in the first half of this week is a point in case. Don't worry, later in the week as Venus and Jupiter go into an opposition, something much more bubbly and enjoyable could manifest itself for you. But the new moon is very much about trying to get the foundations of your world working as efficiently as possible. It's also a great time to think about your sense of self-worth and your value in situations. And Mars is certainly egging you on, and whether it's at home or professionally, you do need to feel at this particular time as appreciated and respected as possibly can be. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Scorpio, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast sees that new moon in your sign on Friday, which does give you a glorious opportunity to reset your focus, to think about the things that are really important to you individually. But because your two rulers are in mortal combat, it's possible that that single-mindedness may to someone else seem like a little bit of selfishness, or perhaps you're trying to enforce your particular route on them. But clearly that's not necessarily going to be the case. It's possible that they just don't agree with what you want to do. And sometimes in life we actually have to be very single-minded in order to achieve a particular goal. One of the things that I think could happen for you later this week, however, particularly with Mercury in your sign forging such beautiful links with Uranus and also Neptune, is you can just feel in the mood to do different things, fresh things. And that could also see you a little bit more tempted to splash out as Venus and Jupiter come into an opposition towards the end of the week and Mercury moves into your second house. But if you do, I think it will feel like it's a well-deserved prize. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Sagittarius, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast is going to see Mercury arrive in your sign by the end of the week, and that is going to help to bring you into the present. We can't deny, however, that the full moon is in a very psychological part of your situation, and Venus in your sign is also squared off by Saturn right at the start of the week, so there could be a tense moment around a home or a family matter. However, when it comes to your desire to improve your future prospects, even if you're not able to completely move forwards on something that is important to you, what you can do is use your inner resources and determination to move step by step towards what you need. So if you're doing quite a lot of prep and research, but you're not quite seeing the rewards, keep the faith. They will come to you later in November when the sun moves into your sign. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast sees Mercury in the part of your chart to do with your connections to others through group activities or shared interests socially, forging a terrific spark with Uranus in your sector of relationships. So you could find yourself developing some surprising but interesting new connections. But also Mercury links in a more subtle but important way to Neptune. So your use of language can also be important in terms of the impact you have. Now, the new moon is very much about your long-term plan. It is also about those alliances, but the alliances need to feel right, because the North Node in your fourth house is very much about that emotional dimension. So as much as there may be people who want to spend time with you, it really is a case of the quality rather than the quantity. Now, in terms of ongoing relationships, because Pluto in your sign is in that very strident opposition to Mars, if you feel that someone isn't taking you quite as seriously as they should, perhaps not respecting your boundaries, those may be something that you really want to enforce, which would be totally understandable. But because Venus in your 12th house is seeing you ask questions about people's sincerity, authenticity and loyalty, and does clash with your ruler earlier in the week, then comes Mercury moving into that 12th house as the week draws to a close. It is going to be a time when, as much as there may be opportunities, it really are or is going to be the ones that feel right for you, that you feel that emotional connection or you feel that ease. So as much as there may be certain people you like and get on well with, if you want to spend quality time with people, I think the next few weeks the direction of travel is more around those sincere interactions. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Aquarius, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast is going to see that new moon in your sector of success, goals and ambitions. It also sees Mercury, a planet which you have a strong affinity to, very much the communicator, giving you an opportunity to raise your profile and use your language effectively. It's just that clash between Mars and Pluto could tease into the open something you're not particularly happy or satisfied with. There may even be some office politics that you need to be mindful of, especially as there's part of your nature that does like to work in a friendly and sometimes open way. This is perhaps a time to be quite tactical, particularly with, at the start of this week, a clash between Venus and Saturn. So as much as you might like to work with someone, it's not always good to mix business with pleasure. But you know, Venus and Jupiter actually forge a really positive link as this week goes on. And if it does all seem to get a little bit too much, why not break out and do something more pleasurable, fun, and engaging, because it can help to feed your spirits. As the week draws to a close and we have the new moon, for sure it's a time to aim high, but it's also a time to communicate your message clearly with the North Node in the quincunx with your sector of ambitions. But as the week closes, Mercury switches into Sagittarius, joining up with Venus, and that ability you have to get on with all different types of people can actually see something start to work in your favour just after it may have seemed you were on the end of something which was rather challenging, unfair, or perhaps a lot to do with people's agendas rather than your neat talent and abilities. Do order your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast by sharing your unique birth data with me. I'll produce your forecast for next year, but also the rest of this year free. Plus, in my special package of 30% off, you'll get your life roadmap report. And that's the one that will give you searing insights to the patterns that have played out in your life so far. And the much more intimate understanding of those will help you to work with next year's influences much more efficiently. Please see the link below for more. So Pisces, your week commencing the 28th of October forecast suggests that part of your nature that is guided by inspiration and sometimes by just your sense of what's right is really strongly to the fore. Part of the reason for this is that Mercury is in the part of your chart which is very much to do with opening up your thinking. It is linking in a very dynamic way to Uranus. So there could be some electric conversations this week But also, that part of you that does like to be expressive is emphasised by your ruler Neptune, also linking to Mercury. But the intensity of the opposition of Mars and Pluto suggests that you can't please all of the people all of the time. And if you are in the mood to change something, whether it's your job, your life structure, some of your interests, the people you hang out with, or even break out of an unhappy relationship, whatever choice you decide to make, which will be in some ways showcased by the new moon in Scorpio, even if you do make that change, the reality of that alteration is going to become quite quickly obvious as Mercury moves to the top of your chart as this week draws to a close.